Hello, excuse my appearance. YouTube there's no time. There's something I had to wash it out. It's been like this for 2 days. It's getting better now. But I'm trying to say about how and why there is fake law and others pretended. Everyone's a trap and it's a victim reaction /S since the youngest grade. Just like there are magicians who could do tricks and make you think that you perceive things. This is a method that has people, responding to others where and how they had complete possession of not just the branches of government individually grouped together. For example, regarding what caused Jim Crow laws, what exploited that then and now. For example, regarding shock and awe responses to it that left out and leave out the predicate acts delivery system method. I am not a lawyer, I'm not a police force, I'm not a criminal. They're leaving out the evidences of the self-valued criminally foreign influenced database relationships, criminally foreign influenced identity thefts and frauds, so overt with the color, specifically to keep everyone overtly able to see the fake uses of integrity by the people who know the most each science, abridged. Victims, but victim predators. Discrediting more and more people, trick fact cheating nature. Preventing quality of fact cheating nature from having voice. Getting away with it because of how they have investigators and vetting identities and overt criminal enterprises and private ones all involved with something that's off the records. Like sequence shifts. Kept needing to hide the same sequence shifts, find active progressive life for a method that evolved everyone with their scam originally and still. This is exploiting where and how there is a ties to our syntax nature, to our function /S, where and how everything's going to work or not in relationship to what is the identity of what is increasingly valued that is simultaneous. It's invisible but still discernible, scientific value. Oxygen is invisible but still discernible. That's what they, must, per what we're taught. And if we follow, the ancients followed the invisible but still discernible. I'm not saying they were, of course, if, in other words, if say they had made up, there's not really oxygen. They've been teaching us wrong. In relationship to how they are teaching us wrong about Jim Crow laws. They are offensively, they knew ahead of time they would have to maintain people for other motivations, natures, needs, interests, to blame other things other than themselves for the real causes of Jim Crow laws. Because they knew that each age of correlation nature was going to be able to see discorrelation /correlation in relationship to all identities of fact treatments, of positive and negative treatments, time treatments, treatments of other people's names. See, but no one has ever allowed the revelations of being able to connect what is simultaneous with subjects that are simultaneous. Because that would affect where and how all those different types of evil and fake care were in collusion with one style of logic. That is one method that has self-value sequence shifts, specific instances of discorrelation. Excuse me. Tied to overall opinions and convictions. For example, regarding dictators, that wants to have fights about what is a dictator or what is democracy offensively. Because it can't, but wants to fight about what science is, and then rely upon everyone who had been pretending sciences are legitimate since ancient times. Semi-ancient times, the sciences are abridged. That means the Constitution is abridged. The only reason the Constitution is still abridged, the surface values of the Constitution not valued simultaneously. So they would pretend other. You don't know what amendment free speech is? They will pretend Marbury versus Madison meets the pretended appearance of justice like a theater in relationship to what is responsible, not what is legitimate. Like, in other words, not what is actually responsible. So there are fake sides of that are through generations. Like regarding debate. There was no debate on the stage this year. We have courts that are preventing free speech of leaders. They prevent each of our presidents/chiefs free speech. They could say other, but it is recorded. Other is what is actually recorded. So then they would, in other words, individuals, they're forced to entertain and to value locations, areas, and states and parties that are fake sides of correlation natures of Trinity. Now, more and more they are involved with people with Washington, D.C., and with World Trade Center tied to. There's programs through with kids. There's programs with, like, community resources, buildings, involved with systems that are foreign and domestic shared to extents. And that is relevant to where and how they are manifest. Where and how they have, like, you go to court, and because something happened. See, but they've been fabricated. The courts and the people with the people involved, with the prisoners tied to them, and with the private, like, on probation or do something, this, all those identity ground locations are involved with identity thefts and frauds. Where and how they have where they have a predicate acts delivery system method, where there are a whole bunch of ways you can't respond to people, and if you do respond verbally, they're going to hurt you another way because everyone's playing fake offensively. And for example, they're pretending with little kids in each age of fact nature. They approach someone, and then and they say things, statements and or straight confessions. But statements are also confessions, and they pretend they were in communications with you before that. The people that are involved with recorded a whole bunch of other countries, and are interbranch, individually grouped and together methods, distinctly and non-distinctly and simultaneously. Like, for example, sequence shifting. Judicial branch sequence shifts and switches names while they're fabricating audio and video, and or roles with fabricating audio and video into their databases. Also a varied array. So if anyone's going to go back and look on that, it's variable what they're going to see. They're going to see this guy, the one narrative with one arresting officer from one police department that wasn't even there. Another narrative with another police department from another police department that forges and switches names with people. They also have men and women with the uses of the name Bobby that are involved with courts, judges, and prosecutors, investigators. Again, with a whole bunch of other countries already having used those all identity ground locations criminally by themselves, leading up to and in the World Trade Center attack and since. And so there are statutes manifest, wordings of statutes manifest, and readings of them manifest that are criminally foreign influenced. They're leaving out exceptions in exception nature, as is recorded. If someone wants to be honest about what their opinions are regarding Jim Crow laws, regarding slavery, if you search their opinions, they are engineered, and the counters to their opinions are engineered as a breaching screen, as breaching tools, as breaching weapons, and worse than shock and awe, but as shock and awe, as its methods, by its one method, onto all identity ground locations. So it creates these fake instances. It already created fake instances originally still. The branch of the government had to blame on other things, others themselves. The real cause of negative value nature progression is acts in nature, where and how that was nature itself demonstrating. These systems are going to cause negative value nature progressions, acts in natures. They're going to cause inventions that are only temporary positive, and they are increasingly negative. Positive as criminal and seditious natures are positive. In other words, the inventions of industries themselves. So they're leaving out exceptions in exception nature, where and how the agencies and the news media privatized to them too. Attached me and other people that were in the World Trade Center context, but right before the attack, not in the attack, but right before the attack. They attached me and others to fake words, fake locations, fake pleadings, as their roles with Connecticut interbranch and inter campuses, even with a principal child offender involved with prosecutors, judges, and their kids, and family members retired and standing through time. Involved also with WFSB and Fox Connecticut News, with the locations next to them, with the foreign and domestic family members. So a whole bunch of people pretend people make theories about this. Now, these are people of organized crime methods where they attach us to fake conversations with them because they already got painted into corners where and how they are involved with predicate acts with people on and off campuses of the youngest age against each person. I don't know Ray Reynolds. There were like 4 or 5 instances where they created fake instances where and how he is recorded and involved with FBI and with state police and with military and with Wethersfield Police interbranch, judges and prosecutors, their family members, fabricating audio and video, intercities, also on and off the Central Connecticut State University, and with houses next to the campuses associated with him. He's also recorded, confessed, demonstrated involved with Joe DeMauro, who's also recorded, confessed, demonstrated involved with judges and prosecutors involved with a whole bunch of different natures of predicate acts with the Cololo family and with their calls to me over the phone from the Wethersfield town offices through time. And about 2 months ago, with them forging names and switching names with more and more officers. Now, these are officers forging names, switching names on police reports, so preventing anyone forget to respond to anything in writing. With the courts grouped too, and then all together because they have political families. Everyone speaking through others, how their motivations, their roles with this, how they use people's kids for investigative to check up on things, which is really just a consolidation of collusion that our branches of government individually grouped together with overt criminal enterprises, private ones, and relevant body dumping spots roles. There's a Enzo Fienza and his cousin, I forgot his cousin's name, who recorded, confessed, and demonstrated that his cousin confirmed. I don't know them. So they made all these confessions at once from people tied to a Dillon family who was involved with predicate acts with kids on my street, with people that answer the phones for Wethersfield Police through time. And they answer the phones for the networks. And people, and with co-defendants of former director of the FBI in a 2006 case. That are leading up to that case, and since they are involved with predicate acts in other cases and against me, and they've been attaching the plaintiffs and victims proven in cases to fake words and fake pleadings, including with the news media. So in other words, they've been forcing the wrong outcomes in cases because they've been using it as a weapon, like witch trials, but modern day, different fake integrity pretended. Same way the overt criminal enterprises are recorded, kept needing to hide the same sequence shifts with them. Uses of inter-campuses and intra-campuses, predicate acts, roles, uses of the cafeteria of Wethersfield, and of where the kids are going to walk and where they're going to be timed from walking. This is the kind of way men and women pretend to themselves and to others, feel good about themselves, but feel like they're smart or wise. Getting over with these ways. This person can be timed, they're going to walk to the cafeteria this way. You're going to make this statement. Well, what if he says this? Well, then you're just not going to let him speak. And what's that do? People involved with Central Connecticut State University and Trinity College and UConn, Middlesex Community College, are also involved with locations next to them and locations next to the child campuses with former direct as victims, with various natures of courts and prosecutors and judges in overt criminal enterprises. Other countries kept needing to hide the same sequence, just find active progressive lives with them. The people that read in languages for interpretation of languages, they're being used to consolidate fake sides, where and how hundreds of nations at once were forced to be shared as a pseudo-sophistication that has what is fluent through it maintenance to itself, which is means by where and how each position of integrity can't pretend to be integrity unless told to do so through abridged sciences that are reliant upon criminally foreign influence sequence treatments, finite value treatments, value progression treatments, active ones, progressive ones, and identity ones, where and how identity has a relationship to that which is revealed us, that has a positive or negative relationship to itself. But see, this is prevented demonstration. So they prevented free speech for anyone white or black, sickly distinctly, to say, look, you're preventing humanity. It's invisible but still discernible. Three identities of volume, individual grouped together. Group ages, for example, is part of the entire conversation and demonstration of this one identity of value progressions, identity of relationship to itself and the value of it, distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously, is that which is actually tied to all questions and as all answers. But it's simultaneous. So, computers have to mimic this. And they have to do work. In other words, we have the perfect world forsaken by each of the sciences sickly distinctly, with the overt criminal enterprises as logic at the same time, not by accident, with the private ones that are with philosophies. I'm not talking about theory here. I'm talking about if you're entertaining things associated with this, you're entertaining a logic with Jim Crow laws and with slavery and in relationship to that which is the value of the simultaneous, the value of identities, actual science that demonstrates physical delusions, demonstrates self-value, criminally foreign influenced database relationships, having been more and more self-value because they're self-value for more and more distinct reasons, not by accident. That was a propagated outcome /S that effectively maintains self-cultivated, a breaching method. So not one position of wealth, even grouped, has overcome that which was forced since before cars were revealed to cause negative value nature progressions, acts and natures that the suburbs were designed to be designed only capable of. So they would have to be reliant upon value progression systems, tactical ulterior natures. So they would have to be reliant upon syntax treatments, exceptions in exception nature, tactically ulterior from exception and exception nature is actual. It will only stay positive unto itself. Exceptions and exception nature is where and how it forces lethal IDs, force negative value nature, our value nature transfer, our value from here. Extinctions cause dirty rivers and things like that, where we are increasingly not going by its science. We are increasingly not going by the identity of positive, which is not A or B. It is A or B, but to make sure it's A or B is right, it is 5 identities of sequence /simultaneous nature. If one of them, if finite things are being overlooked by logic, that logic is breached. And someone must teach. Free speech. So they want us to debate. They already have free speech in the Constitution abridged. They have criminally foreign influence readings of the statutes and writing of the statutes that isolate the social media, where and how they're getting involved with sequence treatments and with evidence treatments, with convictions and with emotions and passions that are also forcing debates out of sequence. And they're forcing physical delusions. So then if those physical delusions are pointed out by the people, then they pretend that the person's is being mean to them. That's why they'll also have rape threats from the Britain Superior Court and people involved with Hartford courts and Middletown courts and forensics locations, all involved with the same house /S over the last 2 months, involved further with wire crimes. And over the last 4 or 5 years, and this is before that, with the principal child offenders campus that they hid the recorded confessions of. They hid the confessions of. And they hid what is actually recorded by replacing what is actually recorded with other, per where and how. There's a Officer Poison, and there are officers associated with the FBI and CIA that train people at CCSU and with state police and with their family members, and where everyone uses information in databases that is criminally foreign influenced. They have politicians, they have the mayors associated intimately with where and how they have principals and the neighbors of principals involved with where and how they show illusions, where and how they are kept needed to hide lie progressions from where or how they are kept criminally foreign influence, overtly / insidiously, simultaneously. The branches of government individually grouped together. So they need to pretend other. They need to pretend to perceive things about the people who attacked the Capitol. They're increasingly self-valuing the worst in criminal incompetence for God knows, they said billions of dollars for defense spending on that. They didn't have one way to press a button and to have a strap lasso people or whatever. Calm down, the net go on someone. They had no way but to shoot people. More and more, people can't make details now. That's more and more self-value. By abridged, what can't afford free speech, using the finite, using sequence truth simultaneously, using the value of positive, actually, true always, not deny exceptions. See, one identity of truth that is exceptions, while it is in its exception nature, that which is positive or negative to itself simultaneously. An identity has a relationship to positive and negative simultaneously. The simultaneous is our subject /S. I taught best. In America, I am your best teacher. This is no ego too, or using their word. And I'm going to redefine it as energy / energize. God's Omega. And God, I use as an algebraic variable. If you say, I thank God, you believe something is positive to the 5, the 1 / 3 / 5. Identities of sequence / simultaneous nature. Those 5 as the order of sequence true, before the finite, active, progressive, and identity, where identity is a semi-nature relationship, where it is a complete nature. 2, that which is increasingly the value of what is individual, what is grouped, and what is the species body of volume /S. Distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously as itself, so it is still discernible many ways. English was revealed to teach this. This is why letter M, the 13th letter of the English alphabet, stands for mother. In the 15th letter, only 2 over, is omega, distinct from mother. Distinct, non-distinct, and simultaneously the same identity of volume, however. And A stands for alpha. See, but we have alpha and omega. We have all the words / values still yet liberated from all that is involved with the self-value. Criminally foreign influence database relationships and value / value progression roles as a syntax nature. No longer by and as the nature of systems, of positive and negative treatments, of sequence treatments, as its own. Which is one thing that would be fine if that wasn't offensively preventing people free speech and collusion and pretending other. So they're preventing people. There's evidence racketeering originally and still way worse than witch trials. Way worse than the slavery that was distinctly against every single individual, including our founding parents, who did not have free speech in many ways. Their method of countering it was throwing up the surface values of the Constitution above rolls with what was already entrenched too deep, sickly, distinctly with slavery in the North and the South. And that is conveniently left out because of how the sciences were our self-value to bridge and how that is exploited from something that has nothing to do with that first. It has to do with all identity ground locations, where we are value / value progression using other people's names, using correlation, discorrelation, fake. CT must break to find the seat. So please, Fox News judges, Judge Napolitano, please get this, the judges onto paper they're involved with Officer Poison, fabricating audio and video to replace what is actually recorded audio and video. These are also people involved with former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, in his defendant capacities leading up to a 2006 case, and since also involved with people on off the World Trade Center attack context, involved with sequence shifts, identity thefts, and frauds further tied to proven post-dated documents have been presented to the panel of judges in the Ninth Circuit Court next to the World Trade Center attack towers right before they were hit. Connecticut news media also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated they have investigated people who answer their phones, being and having been directed to stack, predicate acts roles, allusions into databases, uses of attaching little kids to fake locations, fake ties to doctors. It's a whole bunch of ways, whole bunch of names and doctors fabricating conversations with people, like a Leahy family, through time involved with, there's a Brian Silver, and there are a whole bunch of people with New Britain Superior Court and Hartford courts that were involved with locations with predicate acts, fabricating audio and video to replace what is actually audio and video recorded, leading up to the World Trade Center attack and since. They are affecting confessions to people, and then they're preventing demonstrations of where or how what is actually recorded is how investigators originally still are self-valued as means and by their needs to hide for themselves and for everyone around them, and they're involved with conversations with them and their family members, everyone. The same sequence as fine, active, progressive lies. They even have the witness protection program. In the body dumping spot /S reported of Billy Grasso, also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated, confirmed, and then online by the people associated with the Fianza family, who is involved with the Dillon family, with my new and past neighbors. Unknowing. I don't know if they know to an extent, but further than and now involved with police forms on off the Central Connecticut State University, on off Weathersfield interbranch locations, involved with military also on my street, with people's names criminally, and with drugs and medicines crimes, and with the investigators of that, and how with the doctors tied to the various courts with the methods recorded, offensively pretending things like they don't want people to not have faith in doctors, rather than take, because the courts, judges have been fabricated. They have crime methods recorded. There's a Judge Killian who fabricated audio and video out of secret, just spoke fake things into a. He is one of the people recorded involved with Facebook crimes that are sexually natured and drug and medicines crimes with sexual offenders and of a whole bunch of natures or organized crime acts and physical delusions associated with this Judge Killian. And now this is 2 times after. 2 or 3 times. 3 times they brought me to Hartford Hospital for a mental evaluation. And that's where they recorded, confessed, and demonstrated, had people involved with the drugs and medicines crimes and predicate acts with falsified police report, all kinds of natures of evidence racketeering and bad things. People associated with body dumping spots, criminal uses of investigators, their kids, other people's kids. All tied to also former director of the FBI, his co-defendants, Robert Luskin, his co-defendants in the 2006 case. They also were recorded, confessed, demonstrated involved with their kids, and with themselves, with the kids that went to my schools, who were attaching me to fake locations with the courts, and with people in other classes I never had anything to do with, all tied to the same house/S. All involved with that. With people who answer the phones for the Wethersfield Police Department through time. And it's also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated a number of times, a whole bunch of ways tied to the 3 spots at the end of the Berlin Turnpike. And these are also people involved with forensics locations and cases that were and how their investigations, and vetting identities. They are using cases, and they're using the criminals and people they set up, innocent people, to hide their own sequence shifts. Finite lies, active lies, progressive lies, physical delusions, originally and still. We need free speech. So the Connecticut news media attach me and others to fake locations and fake words, which is proofs. They're also that's also like a form of confirmation of their roles with investigations, the people with the locations next to WFSB and Fox Connecticut News and WTNH. Now, these judges also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated there are people associated with the Spada family. I don't know, and a whole bunch of boyfriends associated with her. And girls I don't know who went out of their way to pretend because they were victims of the judges and of the people with the police forms associated with Central Connecticut State University and people on off Fox Connecticut News and with Albany Avenue in Hartford and with those roads and routes. These are people all along Berlin Turnpike, all along that route that go through cities that goes by the state judicial branch offices. Those people I only know for quick instances around that location that use those quick instances, had other people use those quick instances for evidence racketeering in the forms also of identity thefts and frauds. So we have criminally foreign influence readings of statutes by lawyers that are in collusion with that breaching method originally instilled, that an honest mind could discern, not even having to be a lawyer. I'm not a lawyer. We can get a lawyer. We can get I don't know, is there a lawyer pro se bono will help. Because they also have like a Trantolo who's been fabricating audio and video to replace what is actually audio and video recorded. They're offensively being used to further sustained methods of abuse and natures and uses of them, even worse, that they don't even know, but of kids with the principal child sex offenders campus and with judges involved where they use the crime methods. If you call the people back, if you try to report things properly, they'll report you. They'll arrest you for harassment, say, and they'll put you with a huge bond for 6 months. Innocent person. And in the jail are the people that were already involved with that. The people that run the jail. Sandy Hook, Newtown, and courts associated with them, and FBI, CIA, military. There are people involved with the Coast Guard associated with the Joshua Julian, who's also involved with wire crimes and mail crimes and identity thefts and frauds with a house on my street. I never saw on my street in my life. He's one of the persons involved also with the Facebook page of a principal sex offenders campus that's involved with Sandy Hook, Newtown, and with doctors and prosecutors and judges that were involved with locations crimes leading up to the World Trade Center attack, and since where and how they've been using cases to hide that, putting fake audio and video. Now there are people, there's an Amy or Emily, also, and she in court and out before out court, and I asked to report it because her boyfriend confessed, recorded, demonstrated, and people from my town associated with, like, there's an O'Brien family, and there are other people. There's a Kerr family that recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. There's houses on, I don't know the name of I know the Dillon family. There's the other houses on Fairlane Drive that recorded, confessed, demonstrated, had conversations with Wethersfield police that are involved with them as victims. Then they react to it. In other words, it's being used to further the roles with drugs and medicines crimes, with the people that answer the phones for the Wethersfield police, and for the news media. So please have WFSB fix the fake words they attach me to, and make sure that the schools in Wethersfield respond. I want all the schools to respond now, because there was also the Southstein Middle Schools also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with various natures of courts and doctors and involved with drugs and medicines crimes, where they're also involved with identity theft and frauds, and roles with stacking predicate acts and databases tied to delusions where they have their kids involved, where they make instances that are fake to keep them self-valued. They have exploitations of that on off the campus, off the campuses. So there was a Perone family I don't know that pretended other. And they used the Wethersfield Park, and there's a Kerr family that involved with a Colo. The Colo family is the one that the Officer Sullivan, that's a man. They said they only have one Officer Sullivan, it's a woman, but they confirmed it was one of their officers or someone associated with them, with the Wethersfield officers. There's also an Inspector Mike. There's also people with the last name Knerr. With New Britain Superior Court involved with rape threats and gun threats, and with little punks that can't back it up. That's why they have cops shooting people. And and then we have the courts in the foreign kept needing to make trouble between people and make fake care between people, because of how the same way the overt criminal enterprises are kept standing identities of logic that can't defend themselves and afford that logic which tells about American history properly, which is in relationship to that predicate acts delivery system method, clear as day, is what Jim Crow laws are about. So, leading up, these narratives with the people that on the attack on the Congress, there's a whole bunch of worse than criminal incompetence that came through abridged sciences as victims that were taught to use people's names and glorification of fake positive criminal institutions as science. So, for free, we have people that will invent inventions where the people can defend themselves from inside that little trap since before cars. And so there's syntax ties between the programs and the experts, where and how that was, we need experts for a reason, but that was breached for a reason too, to prevent, where they knew that we would have to say things positive about the people who help the services and stuff like that. Like EMS, they're involved with this too. People involved with identity theft. Or Marcello, I don't know his last name, is one of the people involved with West Hartford Police and with New Britain Campus Police and training of police forms that are involved with identity theft, frauds, fabricating audio and video, with people also that were involved with worse leading up to the World Trade Center and since, and with child sex offenders further. On the child offender registry, they had other natures of predicate acts, identity thefts and frauds, roles and motivations recorded with the people that put them away, involved with methods with them recorded, whole methods. They pretend they don't understand people, and while they're stacking more people names, forging and switching, so they could use criminal. They use with other countries. They pretend people have conspiracy theories against government. They use truth for lies. In other words, those are government's crime acts, pretending other. There's a whole bunch of ways that you could say, sue me, when in other words, when they know that people aren't going to be allowed to because they're not following the law. We could sue them personally because they've been doing personally criminally. In other words, these are the people putting people away every day. We're not going to be their level, though. But we can't leave them in their level. So we have to have mandated law followed. So if anyone can help me get heard by Fox News, the agencies and courts reportedly with a press ban, they're also recorded stealing people's identity and exploiting exceptions. Except in other words, they're using the branches of government are self-valuing with other branches of government and with their own, are using methods of sick crimes with their titles and with their abilities to use all that tied to them, accepted as is, sick, fake. In other words, and oh well, that's the elderly home. That's all we could afford. And then you dress that like that, so then they start spending all kinds of money on nonsense. Then other things suffer. We're in a value nature systems employed by a breaching method. Worse than at the end of the whip. And so, American citizens, please follow mandated law for Connecticut. There's only 3 branches of government. They forge names, switch names, use all these offensive methods. They influence the people who answer the phones. They have lawyers in collusion with them originally and still. So respond for the mandated law. I want a response for the campus to me. They use a crime methods with that same campus when I was a kid. There are more people involved with this. It's not just sexual, but there are further on even Facebook sexual crimes by New Britain Superior Court involved. These are the New Britain Superior Court, Hartford Court, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated they were involved with predicate acts with locations leading up to like West Hartford locations. Near the highway, there are Asian families. There are military police. There are military families, foreign and domestic, associated with that location with leasing agents and that thing in intercities, involved with the military police and with the database racketeering. It's like, and they go, if say something people do something wrong or innocent people go to jail because they're waiting trial, they have fake things in databases about them. They have that self-value by those people. They have methods, crime methods, where they pretend people make theories. And they tell everyone to pretend offensively they don't understand them. People from our town that pretended it from the past to know us. Because they were involved with the interbranch force. The Coast Guard. Coast Guard is also involved with uses of Paul Manafort Drive. Paul Manafort investigating uses of Westbrook, uses of investigators associated with Lynn, associated with the foreign and domestic countries, Saudi families. They attach to fake words, they attach to roles with predicate acts that our FBI and CIA had roles with a Scalora family. That is also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with the DeMoro family. That is also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved one of the families involved with the juxtaposed natures of predicate acts with the little boys and girls on my street, with the people involved with the people who answer the phone for the police chief through time. There are 2 Mendez police also fabricated audio and video with the Wethersfield Police Department, attached me to a fake quotation with the older police brother. And he's also one involved with, these are 2 police families involved on off Fox Connecticut News in Hartford, also involved with where and how they're using the Fox News judges, pretending that what's below them is following law. Now, these are people involved with federal criminals before they got caught. Then ones with and as the co-defendants, a former director of the FBI and and their family members, like defendant Thaddeus Grabowski in this 2006 case. But slightly before that, he's recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, involved with the Mendez police crime family and the domain identity theft frauds for crime families with the location next to Fox Connecticut News. These are also people involved with drugs and medicines crimes and with KKK themed, Confederate flag themed military families, intercities that have been fabricating evidences, roles with typing illusions, pretending illusions online because their roles with the courts, judges, and prosecutors personally criminally involved with them. They've been stacking fabricated audio and video into interbranch databases. They've been roles with that. They've been roles with exploitation of that, leading up to the World Trade Center attack in it and since. These are even the people that are with the programs. Even the businesses and there's houses next to the businesses with the programs tied to the courts, where you can go do community service or something like that. Community resources you can get. They have those locations criminally foreign influence. They have them involved with juxtaposed natures of organized crime. And worse than war crimes. This is simple. Here and there, hundreds of nations are kept suits and tie fake, counter fake. So they want to have a real fast trial. They make people call it railroading. Like they make the president call a perjury trap what is worse than that. They make him understate it. Because there are more influences than are just on the record. And including the ones that are off the record like the other countries. Recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. Involved leading up to the World Trade Center and since. Involved with our investigators and the investigators military of the attack. Associated also with Hartford Hospital. Associated also with other Connecticut colleges and universities. Where they've been fabricating audio and video with the people who attacked us. Because they're involved with justice racketeering every single day of their lives. Ever since everyone was born, it was fake. CT must break. So please follow mandated law for Fox Connecticut News, Fox judges. I know you guys can be better than this. Do it right here too, because they record, confess, demonstrate, confirm. You guys are preventing people with legitimate uses of logic and of passions and emotions, where and how that. Since I was in grammar school, people who offensively pretended with like sick animals that they were against what they were for, which is predicate acts. In other words, like a Debbie Gold from another class. She knew I wouldn't be able to respond to her. But you come up to me making no sense. And then they put whatever. They took the teacher to put whatever in the database. And they exploit that each year. Now, I never see her, I never saw her. I don't know her. Same thing with the O'Brien family. But then a whole bunch of people recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, has ties to Central Connecticut State University a whole bunch of ways through time, and to Trinity College. There's a Charlie Bowes and his sister. I also don't know who was recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, involved by people tied to them, involved with Trinity College. With a Joshua Stryker. Also, I never had a conversation with Joshua Stryker. He pretended tried to make an exception one time with an Oliveri family. Where an Oliveri family, and they bring families into it, and they make confessions about their family members because they want to make, when you respond to that, they were being used to attach me and my parent family doesn't even know them. There was someone who pretending to be a Kerr family, or it was them, because they put a whole bunch of their identity theft fraud. They put all kinds of. They act. These are people when they were kids. They were going out with the same girls. Then they were pretending they didn't like it in other contexts. They were talking about it. In other words, they would act fake sides of issues. They would lie about They knew I was going to go to this. They knew I was going to be this time, and they would lie about where I was going. What brought me to that location. And then they had to do years later too. Joe Aiello. I don't know Joe Aiello. He's also recorded, confessed, demonstrated by the people every once in a while who make confessions tied to this. The reason is so relevant is because when you're a little kid in grammar school, you have the ability to discern that predicate, that breaching method, that wants that unnatural slavery, abuses of Native Americans sustained first, abuses of that native system. Everyone's forced to not be able to afford. Everyone. Since before cars, the whole landscape is tactically denatured, let alone where it is most overtly tactically denatured, designed to cause negative value nature progressions, action natures, recorded, designed to be blamed on other things other than themselves, recorded effectively. So please, Fox News judges, please do what's right and respond for Fox Connecticut News. And show them how to follow mandated law, and so they don't have to be forced to follow it by the Attorney General, who President Trump would have had right to try to force to do justice. I'm not saying he was trying to do it right. I'm not saying anyone's trying to do it right. If they were trying to do it right, we have what is true always, not denying exceptions. It is worse than a war zone. Claimed other. That people stacking in New York City. It is reliant. The rules on here are reliant upon more and more that people stacking like that in other countries at the same time. It's not by accident that in Russia and in America, since before cars, we're still in that colonial trap of houses in relationship to the overtly tactically denatured. We're in the same trap. We're in the same semi-ancient trap that came as modern nations not realizing, individually grouped together, that once they defend that and value that more and more, the more and more they can't afford to have discerned where and how we are individually grouped in together as that identity of volume we are, that is demonstrating why we are this identity of volume we are, that it revealed. We didn't invent ourselves this way. See, we have no podium of integrity. And this method knew that other would have to be pretended. So people are lying about passions and emotions. And they have with physical delusions. So they just knew that they would try to pretend other to themselves as victim predators, trying to be evil, thinking cold, evil. Those aren't solutions. And so increasingly they're valuing how the elderly homes, how the poverty all at once, they can't afford the means that are needed, where and how negative value nature progressions are even more needs than naturally would be. This tactically denatured identity ground locations, specifically to be names racketeering. This is against every individual. So a leader, no matter how powerful they get, they are prevented anything but collusion with that which uses groups and the overall being and having been forsaken to prevent integrity from being each age of correlation nature, simultaneously needing to pretend more other more and more. So you have little types of fake self-value as weapons, where and how they put the kids against the kids, where they're spreading rumors through kids with their own kids, the interbranch. That's recorded. And it's with the foreign, how recorded kept doing the same bad things with them. So please respond for Fox Connecticut News and WFSB, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated, fabricating audio and video, stealing people's identity, thefts, and stealing people's identity, attaching us to fake locations to hide the illusions they had leading up to the World Trade Center attack, and since, with their evidence racketeering roles, with their sources, with the three branches of government and the military, criminally foreign influence with them. They're private investigators. They're lying when they pretend they think they're integrity. Please get them on paper now, too. And I want to know them in sequence with this Judge Killian. He's involved, because before the 2 times or 1 time, I sat before him for a second. He put fake things with a Dr. Aziz, and before that there's a Leahy family this whole time, involved also with the Dillon family, and people involved with medicines and drugs crimes, with children's programs, and with the community center, and on and off the principal sex offenders campus with this Dillon family, and with the policing of the campuses, and with these Mendes police, and with these people with the New Britain Superior Court's Facebook page with a KNERR name, associated also with a Kerr name, who pretended to know me too, after they sought me out and sought my father out for confessions all at once, because they were tied to they're tied to buildings next to Fox Connecticut News, like a religious place, a St. Anthony's Church, and other religious places that are involved with child offenders on the registry that were also involved then and now with the phenomenon of being and having been involved with people who answer the phones with identity thefts and frauds, like Wethersfield Police and like the news media associated with them. There were a whole bunch of police forms, former director of the FBI, other agencies and their family members recorded involved with Central Connecticut State University and other colleges where they attach kids to fake locations on campus, where and how they know that their campuses are recorded 24/7. And they simultaneously, no one's going to doubt the police are lying when they have that recorded 24/7, but they're lying about what's recorded. See, these are methods of organized crime and motivations and background missed. It's tied also, again, to the syntax nature, where they have justifications of programs like rope programs and stuff like that, which are alternatives to courts, uses of prisons, which are recorded originally and still breaching method applied. Those are sick courts. Those are sick readings of statutes and of reality that are delusions wrought too. And now these are people faking passions and emotions where they prevent writing offensively since I was a kid. So they're involved with worse than extortion and torture, identity thefts and frauds, and they want to speak about jobs and stuff like that. It's not by accident. All we have to do is admit this is, admit our founding parents. What was upon them, how they didn't have what their context was, because that was never told properly, and is not told properly, and how that is motivated is recorded too. How that is exploited is recorded. So please respond for the campuses that hid what was actually recorded and confessed by the principal child offender, and I want a response for the campus still avoiding me while they've been forcing sustained lies through their own kids. They had a community meeting about me, I wasn't even allowed to be a part of it, and they were telling lies with their own kids because they were investing them to roles. You needed to hide lie progressions with things that are going to be brought up by investigations in the future, where they had to lie about them. So before I have to keep mentioning that the location of Fox Connecticut News, you guys are also. I'm not trying to start fights with Fox Connecticut News. You guys are involved with these people. You guys are preventing me a means peacefully to counter you guys too. No, because you got drug crime rolls. You have gun crime rolls, knife, bug spray. You guys are with bad people involved with here. You have programs that with the kids next to Central Connecticut State University. A whole bunch of judges and prosecutors since the girls were little involved with them. Manipulative games with the kids, identity thefts and frauds, furthering their illusions. Nothing for what they said. They're not trying to judge people's characters. There's something with Central Connecticut State University involved a whole bunch of ways with all the news topics that they're leaving out. as people recorded and confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, involved also with the investigator of the World Trade Center attack, as the ones from Connecticut, interbranch, intercities leading up to it, in any context involved with the people from here that were